What's going on, folks? It's your friendly neighborhood Professor Cack, swinging through the hallways, highways, and byways of a local YouTube room near you on this gloomy Sunday evening. I hope that you all had a pretty enjoyable weekend, just as much as I did. I am coming to you all live from your friendly neighborhood office. um, I want to actually give you all some updates and announcements. I just sent out a announcement for week 14. So all of you should have received that in your email or on Canvas. So without further ado, let me go ahead on so I can begin to share my screen and we can review some of these updates because there's actually a lot as we begin to wind down the entire semester in our last couple of weeks. So I want to go through this step by step with you all, at least the announcements, the upcoming deadlines and events, and then of course this week's focus. So for those of you who have been following along in excuse me, those of you who have been following along in our course schedule, you'll see that for this week, we have, it does say writing assignment number 5 that is due. We also have course module 14 in the readings that's due column, along with for the topic, what's up with the American dream? Okay. Um, this week is intentionally designed to be low impact. There's not very much that we have due. You actually have no assignments due this week. You did not have any that were due last week. And that was quite intentional because part of what I want to highlight for you all is or excuse me, part of what I want to actually provide you all with is some space to begin the research process. Now, we'll talk a little bit we'll talk a lot actually about sorry. We'll talk a lot about writing assignment number 5, the research argument proposal. So I'll go over that with you all tonight. And then we'll also talk about the final exam. And since those two will probably take up the majority, the bulk of the time, the real estate of time that we have for this evening, I will also start off by discussing and just kind of reviewing the kind of parameters, dates, and times for when your revisions are due. Those of you who've been paying attention to the last few um, uh, updates and announcements, I think at least as far back as week 10, week 11, I've mentioned to you all either in our lives or also too on our updates and announcements, the posts, that is to say, that you all can revise your writing assignments 1 through 4. And I've met with a great deal of my students from all across my classes who have been taking advantage of this. And I see a lot of you are actually working very hard to revise your essays and to respond to a lot of my comments. Oftentimes, what I'm noticing in those, or at least with some of your essays, is that for those of you who are not using AI, and I do want to actually kind of make a bit of a correction or at least clarification. Um, the There are a good number of you who are not using AI. At least the folks who I'm actually meeting with, the folks who are actually tapping in and signing up for office hours with me. I haven't actually had a too many meetings where I've had to review the the course policy on AI usage, which is quite short and sweet, which is don't use it at all because it's not allowed. But there are still a number of you that I've yet to actually meet with, and I certainly do need to meet with you all. This is May 3rd. You only have until May 10th in order to get those revisions in. Okay. So if you have indeed used AI and you see that note on your paper where it says, hey, it looks like you used AI right here, please come and see me. Please do so because I do want to extend an opportunity for you all to rewrite that essay. And I want you to have um, now you don't have as much time as you did have, but at least you'll have some time to actually go back and revise at least one out of the four assignments that we've had. Okay. So without further ado, let's go ahead on. Let's dive right on into these updates and these announcements. All right. So our announcements, first and foremost, this week we will indeed have a YouTube live. It'll be this Thursday, 6 o'clock, or rather this coming Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. at our regularly scheduled time. We're back to our regularly scheduled time last week. Excuse me. Ooh, excuse me. Um, Last week I started a little bit late. Actually, excuse me. Sorry, I started a lot late. We started at 7, not 6. That was because I wasn't actually able to make it at 6. But you, we are back to our regularly scheduled time that we will be meeting for this week. Just last week, we started just about an hour behind schedule, and still had a decent number of you actually show up, but we certainly need more. This is certainly a YouTube session that you want to tap into, or at least view at whatever time it is that you are able to view. I know that a lot of you have work and family life commitments. Where you are, in some cases, you all are the sole breadwinner for your family, or you all are the sole personal care provider for your family. So if you can't attend, then you certainly want to go back and watch the video. It will be about an hour long, just about the same amount of time, same length that we would have in like a traditional face-to-face class. And I want to try to recreate that as much as possible by going over, at least for this week, how to explore research databases through the Cerritos College Library Database Center. Okay, so I've mentioned this at least in some of our other videos, like around week 9, like around week 6 or so, where we've had writing assignment number 2, writing assignment number 3. These two assignments have actually incorporated a lot more research. So we're going to kind of pick up some of those Scooby snacks that we may have left behind in some of those earlier videos. And I'm going to show you all how to actually put it all together with some note-taking materials, some tools, tips, and tricks that I'll actually make available to you all at the YouTube Live. Okay, so you do have to actually show up in the YouTube Live in order to get access to some of these tips and tricks. And again, if you have extra care responsibilities, if you don't, and you're unable to actually show up, you won't be left without, because all you'll have to do is just quite simply watch the video and you'll be able to see where you can access these materials here from. Okay. So we're going to learn how to navigate through some of those research databases on the Cerritos College Library website. We'll learn how to identify scholarly sources, and we'll learn how to specifically distinguish them from some of the more popular sources, or rather the non-scholarly sources. In addition to, we'll go over how to refine our searches, right? Our topic searches. There are at least about 3 different searches that you would want to conduct for this research assignment. Primarily because a lot of you, if you're not choosing to extend your writing topic, or rather the social issue that you had started in writing assignment number 3 for the visual argument, if you're not choosing to extend that, then you will be starting from scratch. And that's not a bad thing. What that just means is that you'll have to actually do some background research. You'll have to do some exploration of reference sources to get more familiar with the history, the background, and the context of the issue, and how things got to be this way, to the point where you have recognized the problem, the specific and social problem that you are looking to provide and to do research on a solution for. So that's one of the searches that you'll do: background search, right, or a reference search, right? Search through reference sources. Another search that you're going to want to do for this particular kind of essay, that we'll go over for our YouTube Live session this Thursday at 6 o'clock, is you'll want to learn about what scholarship, what experts, what research in general has been done to try to solve this issue, right? That's where you're going to want to gather up your data. That's where you're going to want to gather up your resources. And you want to actually explore through these resources and not just read them from front to back. I'll show you how to actually kind of comb through, really how to skim through a lot of the research that we'll come into contact with. I'll show you how to skim through it. And more importantly, not so much to just hurry up and get through it. You'll have to go back and reread it if it's a good source for you, but it's just a skim. That's the specific technique that we call our first pass in reading, right? In the critical reading strategy, that critical reading strategies that we practice in academia, right? One of the first techniques that we use or apply is called skimming. All of you, I'm assuming, have actually heard of this. But in academia, we practice it in a very particular and strategic kind of way, a very intentional and deliberate way. All right. So I'll show you all how to do this through research, right? Through the articles, through the journal articles, academic articles that we'll be exploring. I'll show you how to actually read through it in order to pull out key information, so that way you can more quickly and better make a choice as to whether or not this source is relevant to you for your research or not. Okay. Um, Next, well, actually, just a last word that I'll actually have on this particular assignment, writing assignment number 5, the research argument proposal. I do want to actually make it clear, this is an option. Okay, this is why. So you won't see it on the assignment prompt itself because it's not mandatory, and I don't want to give you all the impression that this is mandatory. However, you do have an option, right? To extend the topic that you began your research on in writing assignment number 3, right? So if you wrote about, um, the value of, you know, what was one of the topics? How, how the penny is impacting the US economy, right? And what should be done about it, right? Or uh, you know, should technology be banned in K-12 schooling, right? Those are topics, research topics that several of you have actually used in writing assignment number 3. And I do want to highlight that it is important for you all to create like a kind of continuity through your work. Um, However, it is also too valuable to further develop and extend your thinking on work that you already began in the semester, right? Because if for no other reason, you've at least started, ideally, right? I'm speaking very theoretically here, you've at least started the research process, right? You've at least kind of peeked down the rabbit hole to explore and to better understand what is the issue that's at stake in this broader research topic here, right? So you've at least done some background research, again, theoretically, ideally. And so this is also an opportunity, an option that I want to extend to you all for writing assignment number 5. It's not to, well, you actually can't kind of take the visual argument and then put it into your writing assignment number 5. You cannot do that. But what you can do is actually utilize some of the research that you've already done to formulate a more coherent, much more structured, guided focus down that rabbit hole that you began, that you kind of peeked down as early as writing assignment number 3. Okay. Writing assignment number 4, next topic. Writing assignment number 4 grades will be posted by later on tonight, at least by 12 o'clock. I still have a couple more that I need to actually get through and provide some feedback on. At this point now, I've actually read through all of the assignments, and now I have to actually go back and provide some feedback, some critical commentary, so you all can, if you don't see a grade or at least some commentary on your writing assignment number 4s just yet, give it about a couple of hours, just to kind of be sure and make sure that that you're in the clear. You can certainly check it tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow in the morning, and then you should actually see some feedback there. But please review that feedback very carefully. I want you to actually read through it. Right. My apologies for if it's difficult for you to actually read my writing. I try to write as legibly as possible. So I've chosen the medium of print. Since we don't have access to turnitin.com this semester, and I can't make my comments as cleanly as I would traditionally do. So I'm actually writing on my tablet my commentary in line with the text itself and making marks on the actual essay. Not all of the marks. If you see marks on your paper, that doesn't necessarily connote or mean like it's bad. What it means is just quite simply that I'm providing you with some feedback. Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's excellent, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's right, it's critical. But it's also, more importantly, it's not exhaustive. Okay, so I don't want you to think, and this is the reason why, kind of transitioning on to a topic that we'll actually be discussing in our upcoming deadlines and events for the final revisions. This is why it's required, if you do want to receive a grade for revising your essay, you need to come and see me, because if you don't come and see me, then that means that you can only go based off of the feedback that is written on the paper itself. The problem is that that feedback there is not exhaustive. There's a lot more that needs to actually be discussed. What I'm doing in terms of providing my feedback is just highlighting key patterns that I see popping up over and over again. So it's quite common for a lot of my students to see like repeated comments, right? So like you'll see something that ends up like you'll see the same comment that kind of pops up twice in different areas of your paper. That's because I'm recognizing and trying to highlight for you the pattern that shows up in your writing, right? Which is also, too, ironically enough, how I can kind of tell and discern, who's used AI and who has not. AI is quite mimetic. I've even seen some of the same order of thinking and order of topics and order of writing that pops up on multiple students' papers. That's how I for sure know that folks have been using AI, right? So yeah. I do want to actually just make that very clear for you all to kind of put a button on this issue. You all are receiving feedback from me that is that's not exhaustive, but I do want you to come and see me. It's an invitation to come and see me through office hours, so that way we can further discuss what's going on in the paper and how we can enhance it, how we can increase it, and how we can address some of the common causes and concerns on the paper itself. All right. Next announcement. We do have a new post, a new course module that has been published. It is not available yet, however. Okay. It has been published, but it is not available. So the new module that's published doesn't have a particular course module that is identified on it. It just quite simply says final exam, right? Or excuse me, sorry, final information celebration. And that is indeed what you'll find under there, is just the link to the final information celebration, which will be made available in Canvas, through Canvas, at least for a period. It'll be made available for a period of about 24 hours, which means just like the midterm exam was available for 24 hours, you have that window right there to get that exam done and complete. Since we are an online class, we do not have a specific set date that's been set by the college for us to have a final exam. It is one that is indeed a flexible date range, and that date range is a period of 24 hours from May 10th, the same day that all of your revisions are due, through May 11th. Okay, so from May 10th, 12 a.m. to May 11th, the following day. All right. So I want to make sure that we can that you all have that just understanding. That way you're not kind of looking for the new post. Remember, as I discussed in last week's YouTube live, week 13 or excuse me, the latest module, excuse me, the module that was published last week is a combination of the last 3 weeks worth of content, all in one module. Okay. And so, if you want to actually see my thoughts, kind of revisit my thoughts, if you weren't able to actually join us in the YouTube live, you can certainly go back and rewatch the recording of the YouTube live underneath, I think last week's updates and announcements is where I've made that available. Okay. So please feel free to go back and to rewatch that. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via Slack, Canvas, or via email. All right. Last announcement. We have our office hours that will be our regularly scheduled office hours, which will be available Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Those of you who have not already scheduled an appointment with me, I do have still some slots that are actually available, but they're filling up very quickly. I know that it's the end of the semester, and a lot of you are indeed trying to make it across the finish line. And and trust me, I'm right there with you. So please feel free to schedule an office hours appointment with me for this week or for the earliest time that is indeed marked and available. And we can discuss whatever questions, comments, or even concerns that you may have. And yes, indeed, emotionally justifiable outbursts are welcome. Uh, Switching over to our upcoming deadlines and events, as I mentioned earlier, some of these things here will just be like a kind of repeat. And that's okay. Sometimes we need to have information. I'll speak for myself. Sometimes I need information repeated for me, right? I had a high school teacher. His name was Mr. Reed. Very, very, very excellent teacher, right? One of my favorite teachers throughout my entire time in high school. You always have, either one or a few, right? Like a small few, like in the 4 years, right? But he was certainly one of my favorites. And he would always say to us, you know, I repeat things so many times. He had this very particular kind of way of talking, right? He was like, I repeat things all the time. I have to make sure that, you know, that you guys hear me, a lot of the latest educational research says that, when you repeat something 3 times, then, it actually creates these grooves in your brain, and your mind actually kind of solidifies it when it creates those grooves. Yeah. He was such an interesting character, man, or an interesting, he's such an interesting human. Certainly a model of an intellectual, a scholar, and somebody who just absolutely cares about teaching and young people learning. He said a lot of things that a lot of my classmates and I end up kind of joking about to this day, but he said them so funny. Oh man, okay. So just transitioning right on into our first upcoming deadline. All right. As I mentioned, final revisions are due May 10th by 11:59 p.m. No later. I will not be accepting submissions after this deadline. Okay. Every single last one of your writing assignments, 1 through 4, will be shut down on May 10th at 11:59 p.m. Reason why? I cannot sustain additional revisions for me to actually read through in a week's worth of time that took us an entire semester to actually kind of craft, right? So if, for example, just to kind of pencil in the details here, not quite shading and coloring, but just at least an outline, a sketch. If I have one student who wants to revise writing assignments 1 through 3, that means that I have 3 essays to read, right? In about 7 days worth of time. That's 3 essays to read and provide, to read and assess and provide some feedback on. Um, Times 30. That's in one class. Okay. So that's like what, 3 times 30, 90, right? I teach 4 classes. Everybody from each of my classes has the opportunity to revise writing assignments 1 through 4, right? And I kind of gave a lowball number, right? That's just 1 through 3, right? Like if somebody wants to actually revise writing assignment number 4 after they receive feedback on this evening, right? Then that's 4 essays, right? Times 30 that I'll have to actually go ahead on and grade and there's just not enough time to extend the date beyond what it has already been extended to. Okay. So let's make sure to actually get that in no later than May 10th, right? By 11:59 p.m. Okay. And if so, here's what I'm telling you all right now. Do not wait until then in order to submit it. Get your assignment, get your revision done in advance. Okay. Get your revision done on May 9th. So that way you don't have to worry about any kind of technical issues that may have popped up. Make sure to do your assignments, your typing, right, on either Google Docs or Microsoft Student Edition, which is free online, and it'll automatically save your progress. Okay. Because if you send me an email and you say, hey, my computer crashed, I'm going to say that is entirely too bad. We'll work with whatever the grade is that you currently have. Okay. So let's make sure to hit that deadline. And let's make sure to get that work in. Okay. Next, our final information celebration will indeed be due the following day. Okay, this is also another reason why I want to encourage you all to get your revisions in early. Okay, so if you go to, you can submit your revisions at this in the same place where you submitted your writing assignments. All right, either under assignments, you can go right here. Right, these here are all for me the kind of fake student view that I have. Right, it'll say that these here are like kind of overdue because I haven't submitted anything, so don't pay attention to that. But you can go right here and you can click on whatever assignment it is, writing assignments 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yes, it is indeed only those assignments that are available for revision. And then you can go ahead on and upload either from Google Drive or directly from your computer in order to submit or to resubmit your writing assignments. Okay. So the same place where you actually went through to resubmit is where you can also, excuse me, the same place where you went to initially submit your writing assignments is the same place that you can go to resubmit. All right. Dialectical Journal submission form midterm questions and answers are not available for revision. Okay. Only writing assignments, period. That is it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Okay. Now, getting back to our announcements, the upcoming and important deadlines. Final information celebration will be May 11th by 11:59 p.m. Okay, so that is indeed the next following day, that Monday. Okay, so you have all of Sunday. Okay, you have all of Sunday, May 10th, right, in order to get it in. It's almost actually like you have 2 days to get your final exam in. There will not be any extensions. I will not be accepting any final exams after May 11th. Again, the time frame for the grading is something that I cannot push back any further than these dates here. Okay. And also, too, this here is unlike any other class that you have. Your final exams are on one day for 2 hours. That is it. You have a scheduled set day and time. I am not pushing this date back, and I will not be accepting anything after this date. Your final exams are not due until Monday, May 11th at 11:59 p.m. Okay. I know that you all have to go to work. I know that you all have family care and responsibilities. You also have a final exam that is indeed due, and you'll have to do your best to actually negotiate between your responsibilities in order to submit your final exam. Okay. It is open notes, it is open book, and you do have about I think I give everybody about a 3-hour time limit in order to complete the exam, and it is indeed in the same format and rules as the midterm exam. So it'll be available for 24 hours from Sunday through Monday. Sunday morning, right, at May 10th at 12 a.m., and it will indeed close Monday night at 11:59 p.m. Okay. It will, you'll have 3 hours to complete it. Once you begin, your time will indeed begin. You cannot start and stop your exam and then go back to it so that way you can kind of pick it back up. No, 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 no. Once you start, that is it. Okay. So once you begin, you must indeed finish the exam in the same settings. Use your notes wisely. Okay. Because you only have I'm actually give I'm there's so much leeway I'm giving you all right now. I am giving you an extra hour to complete your final exam. The traditional kind of standard time for final exams and face-to-face classes is 2 hours. The traditional final exam time for online classes is 2 hours, unless you have a special note or a special request from SAS that where you have requested services and you go through this process through SAS and they send a note to me to inform me that you are that you receive services that require that you have additional time to complete your exam. Okay. So for those folks who from whom I have received that note, even if I didn't actually receive that note, here's the thing. I'm giving everybody that opportunity, right? So it's not even just if you have a special SAS request. I'm actually making that a crucial core component of the actual final exam itself. So everybody has 3 hours, right, to complete what should take 2 hours max to complete. All right. All of that to say, you can expect your grade to be made available the following Sunday, May 17th. Again, this is the reason why, yet another reason why I cannot accept any final exams, any final information celebrations after May 11th, 11:59 p.m. Okay. Please note that I will indeed still need to grade the final exam even after you complete it. You will see a score on your final exam. You will see certain questions that may be marked wrong, right? And the answer that it might provide might actually be the same answer that you have included, but there's just a slight difference or a slight variation, maybe like in the punctuation, right? Or maybe in the spacing, maybe you hit the space bar right twice, or maybe the answer is um maybe the answer is actually um m- uh, my apologies, folks. I was actually receiving a call on my front desk. I mean, at my front door. It was a gate call. But maybe the answer itself that the system actually recognizes is has a capital in it, and maybe you didn't capitalize. I'm not taking off points for that, but this is why I'm saying I'm highlighting. I'm letting you all know I still need to grade it. Okay. I receive so many emails right after the midterm exam, and it happens every single year. I receive so many emails after the final exam, so many emails after the midterm exam from students who kind of in a range, right? Full range of emotions actually kind of gets comes across the emails. Sometimes students are irate because they just absolutely know that they got this answer correct, right? And then sometimes, they'll just say, "Hey, you know what? I mean, I think I got this thing here correct. I mean, I don't know. Tell me if something's going on with my computer. Maybe I did something wrong. Can you check in for me?" I have to grade it. Still, I still have to grade it. All right. So just know that, right? Just know that. And don't worry. Okay. After I send you an email letting you know, hey, your final grades have been updated, right? Please check and review your scores on your writing assignments, the revisions that you've submitted, or check that means check your revisions, that means check your writing assignments, that means check your final exams, right? um, Go back, go back through it and check my work. Okay. If you see something that's off, then send me an email. Just say, hey, Professor Cat, you know what? I think, there may have been a miscalculation here, right? And then show me what the miscalculation is, right? And we'll schedule like an office hours appointment or something like that, and then we'll actually get to the bottom of it. Okay. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this semester, as I mentioned in my syllabus, as I repeated kind of throughout the semester, like my goal here is not really so much to make grading or the process of you all actually receiving grades like an onerous kind of task, but rather it's to really try to highlight where you can use some improvement, right? For the exams it's different. For the exams, I'm assessing how well it is that you've actually taken notes. Do not study for this final exam, folks. Go back over your notes. If you didn't take good notes, go back over the modules. Go back over the modules anyway. Go over the PowerPoints, go over the lectures, go over the concepts that are introduced on, the various posts throughout our various course modules, okay? I am really testing and assessing how well it is that you took notes on our readings, PowerPoints, documentaries, the video clips, and the posts that I make every single week on these course modules. I'm testing your ability, how well it is that you've taken notes. That's about it, folks. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue to move right on. Your final essay, writing assignment number 5, the research argument proposal, will be due. So, uh, at different points in time throughout the semester, I've actually mentioned that it's due May 10th, right? And that is indeed the original due date. And if you double check the course schedule, which is underneath course documents under modules, you will see that it's provided at the end of this week, right? Week 10. Last week in our YouTube live, I did a poll where I asked the folks who participated, hey, which one do you want, right? Because I know I have listed the final essay is due the same day that all of your revisions are due. And then right after that, you have the final exam, right? That seems like it might be a little bit much. So, which one would you all prefer? I took the poll or you can watch the video in order to see the results. However, what I've chosen to do here is just kind of in a manner to address, or excuse me, just kind of in a manner to, in a manner to address the needs and concerns of as many of my students as I possibly can. Um, if you want to actually submit your essay on its original due date, right, May 10th, go ahead and you will get 5 extra credit points. Okay. That means that is finished and you have submitted it. For every single person who submits their writing assignment by the original due date, which is May 10th, you will receive 5 points extra credit. Okay. I know I have some folks. I know I have some folks from the YouTube live for whom that might actually kind of bring a smile to their face. But if you do not wish to submit your essay by May 10th, that's perfectly fine. You won't receive any penalty at all. I'm not going to take off points. You'll have more time to actually submit writing assignment number 5, which will indeed be due no later than May 17th. That is the Sunday after your revisions are due. Okay. All right. So you can submit it anytime that whole entire week. It's just that I cannot take it after May 17th at 11:59 p.m. when all of the rest of our assignments are actually due. I will have my grades finished by that Monday. Okay. All right. So just to kind of wrap up, our focus for this week is indeed to study for the final information celebration. The exam will indeed be cumulative, so we'll cover all the material that has been provided from the PowerPoints, the readings, the films, the video clips, from week 1 all the way through week 13, which is when we've technically ended like our formal instruction, right? Learning new ideas, right? By week 13. All right. This week, you do certainly want to also get started. If you have not already gotten started, right? You want to get started with your research. You want to get started on exploring and examining the topics, right? Take a look here at writing assignment number 5. Matter of fact, let's all go to it right now. Okay. Let's break it down. Um, Let's see, Daisy. Okay, so here's the overall prompt. I know, very short prompt, right? Some of this stuff here might actually look familiar. It should, because this here is accumulation. It's an accumulation of some of the topics and ideas that we've been exploring and discussing throughout this entire semester. All right, so let's take a look here. Writing assignment number 5, due May 17th, research proposal argument. In an essay of 6 to 8 pages, that means minimum 6. Everybody who I see who has 5, you will not indeed pass the class. Okay, you won't pass the class, you won't pass this essay. You have to pass all of your essays in order to pass this class. So you need a minimum of 6 pages, okay? No AI at all. It is not allowed in this course as part of the course policy. All right. You must use 4 to 6 peer-reviewed journal articles, right? So we'll go over YouTube in our YouTube live how to actually research and access research databases. So we can get access to journal articles, academic journal articles that are peer reviewed. That's what we mean by peer reviewed journal articles. That means that you have a group of scholars who actually are experts on a particular topic, who have to vet whatever the research is that an author looks to put out, right? That another scholar wants to put on out. That's what's called peer review, right? We are going to use 4 to 6 peer reviewed journal articles, course concepts, popular journals, documentaries, video clips, and or magazine articles, right, to compose and to inform, to provide the supporting details for either a practical proposal or a policy proposal. Okay. Now, what you'll learn about what the difference is, or at least you should have already learned about what the difference is between a practical and a policy proposal from last week's post. Um, Especially that first one of the first posts that's providing an introduction to research, in which you'll actually see the video from Crash Course, and you'll also see chapter 15 from a book called Writing Arguments. I do definitely want you all to make sure that you read through that chapter there, because in chapter 15 it breaks down in depth and it provides you with samples and examples of different parts of the essay, as well as the essay as a whole, right? When it kind of comes together, of both a practical proposal and a policy proposal. Practical proposal provides an immediate, local, doable solution to a specific social problem. A policy proposal, on the other hand, will provide at the either the kind of, well, it's generally a more wider scale kind of scope and focus, but it provides a larger scope and even a longer term strategic solution to address a particular social issue, right? So think, for example, right, affirmative action, right, which was a large scale policy proposal that was implemented, or excuse me, that was introduced first back in the 1960s, late 1960s, early 1970s, actually. As a matter of fact, in fact, some of the proto policies were introduced in 65, 68, 64, 65, 68. And the direct targeted policy proposal was introduced in as early as 1971. For affirmative action, which provided a benchmark measure, right, as a way to address the problem of persistent and historical racism that has historically kept certainly people of color, especially Black folks, especially brown folks, women, and in some cases, right, especially like in cases like where there's like a family medical issue and a family medical emergency, right? It's kept members of the LGBTQIA community out of or away from being able to make crucial decisions that are life or death, right? It's even kept some folks out of gaining access to employment, right? It's Some of these issues here have actually resulted in folks losing their jobs, not being able to purchase homes in specific areas because it's written into housing covenants that you will not sell your home to certain groups, members of certain groups of communities, right? And so the policy proposal provides, in short, a much more large scale, strategic, though more comprehensive, not always effective, but more comprehensive approach to addressing, right, whatever the policy, excuse me, whatever the specific social problem is. All right. The majority of your research should indeed be focused on not on not, don't you sit up here and actually try to do a whole bunch of research and then write the majority of your essay, have over 50% of your essay, right, even over 25% of your essay, recounting and retelling me the problem. Do not do that. Okay. This is a research argument proposal, which means that you should be focused on researching the solution. All right. Focus on researching the solution. It will not take very much in order for you to recount the history of how things got to be this way for the problem. That's the difference between high school writing and college level writing. If I see papers that are focused on, matter of fact, actually, because I see this every semester, every single paper that I see that has that has the majority of its paper real estate focused on retelling how the problem got bad, right? Those essays are not going to pass. Those are people who are not going to, those are writing assignments that are not going to receive a passing score, right? And as a result, if you do not actually pass or receive a passing grade for all of your assignments, you will not be able to actually pass the class, okay? Especially for this particular assignment. This assignment here is actually worth 25% of your grade, right? That is the difference between an A and a C, right? In both positive and also two negative ways. So if you do very well, right, that means that you can get a great boost in your essay. I mean, excuse me, a great boost, right, in your grade. Okay. If you don't do well, right, then that means that you can actually receive a pretty deep hit. So do not fall into the trap of trying to research the problem and writing about the problem in in an imbalanced way. You want to write about the problem and you want to actually cover the history of the problem. You want to actually address how it is that the problem actually came into being. However, you don't want to spend the majority. That's not what this paper is on, right? This is not a high school research problem paper, right? This is a college level research argument proposal where you propose a solution that should be implemented in order to address the problem, in order to solve the problem, right? Okay, so we want to make sure that we can actually do proper research. And again, I'm going to actually show you. I'm not just kind of trying to put these expectations out there, right? So I don't want to I don't want to actually be a cause for alarm for any of you, right? Especially for those of you who may feel like, oh man, hey, my research skills are kind of shaky, right? I don't want to actually cause alarm. I'm going to actually show you how to explore the research databases and how to identify research that's focused on the solution. I'll show you how to read through the articles and things like that, right? But you got to show up. You got to show up and you got to learn it, right? I can only offer the information, right? I can only walk you to the door. You're the one that has to actually walk through it. All right. So I will be there with you all the way up until you reach the door. Okay. All right. This particular proposal requires that you pull together the solution, right, that you have found. This is in the assignment prompt itself. Okay. So this actually requires that you pull together sources, data, information, right, supporting details that focus on the solution that you found in your research to the answer to the question. It's one of two questions, right? How can we rebuild a more collaborative and a more socially equal and humane society? Okay, right? Okay, so in other words, right? And again, I don't want you to respond to this robotically. Okay, I want you to think about this research question here in relationship to the problem itself, right? all of these problems that are actually listed here in terms of, or rather, excuse me, these possible research topics that are listed here represent a fundamental specific social problem, right? Or rather, they have specific social problems that are actually a part of it, right? That are embedded in it. Okay. And you're certainly you're going to want to address, develop, research, and get a better understanding about what these problems are and how things came to be this way. But most importantly, you're going to want to actually do some research and develop, gather your sources, your data on what do the scholars and the experts say that we should do about this problem, because each and every one of these problems here represents a threat to building a more collaborative, more equal, more just, and humane society. Okay, so that's really kind of like where the genesis of this question here is rooted. Okay, all right. This essay must be in MLA format. Those of you, this is going to be so worth the time because I, surprisingly enough, am still seeing papers that for some odd reason do not write in proper MLA format. Although this has been the standard that I've shown you all, and that we've been writing in since the beginning of the semester, as early as writing assignment number 1. This is the research assignment submission guidelines, right? So every single writing assignment, discussion board, journal work, and formal work, y'all need to just be in the practice and this needs to be by now at this point in the semester second nature to you. You put your last name and the page number in the upper right-hand corner. This is what we call the header. Many of you will still see me calling this out on your paper, right? You'll see my comments. You want to actually have a heading on the right side, upper right-hand corner. That's called a header. On the left side, this is called a heading, okay? So here you want to include your name, professor's name, your class, and the section number. Do not forget. So many of you actually forget the section numbers. I have no way of knowing who you are or what class you come from if you don't include the section number. You also want to include the date in the International Standard Ascending Order, right? Day, month, year, okay? Every single paper, and I still see so many papers that just use the writing assignment name or the writing assignment title as the title of their paper. You cannot do that. In fact, you will indeed be losing points, okay? You will lose points if you do not have a title, or if you just quite simply have titled this paper writing assignment number 5, research argument proposal, right? Or any kind of variation of that. No, your title needs to do a specific job, folks. It needs to do the job of helping to communicate what your central argument is, but in a very short, concise, 3 to 5 word way. Okay. All right. I'll just say 3 to 5 words because that's a good general kind of rule of thumb. Some of you, all of you, as you're doing research, will notice that a lot of the academic journals and articles will do like this kind of 2-part structure to their title, where they'll include the central idea, right, in like 3 to 5 words, right? And then they'll have a colon, and then they'll have a more drawn out description of, like an arguable claim right after it, right? And that's yet another way that you could, craft or put together a clever title, right, for your essay. But suffice it to say, if your title says simply the name of the assignment, you're going to lose points. Okay. Every single paper should not have extra spaces. Okay. It should all be double spaced in Times New Roman font, 12-point font, no bold. For some odd reason, I see people putting the bold on their titles still. And I'm like, man, I don't know where you developed this habit at, but you don't need it here. You don't need that habit. You can pick it up in another class, but let's put that habit down for right now. Okay. All right, folks. So hopefully I was able to actually shed a little bit of light on an area that you might not have known needed to actually have some light on it. Every single essay should be in MLA format. Okay. And at the very least, this essay should include 4 to 6 sources, which are included right here. Stipulations on which sources not to use if you're going to use an online database, okay, right here. Every essay should be in MLA format. Every essay should have a works cited, and every essay should indeed avoid plagiarism. That means no Chat GPT at All. Okay? Under no circumstances. All right, folks. So let's bring it back home. We've talked about writing assignment number 5. Just got finished. We've discussed the final essay, we've discussed the final information celebration, and we've also discussed the final revisions for writing assignments 1 through 4 when they're due, the ins and outs of each of those aspects. And now, here, first and foremost, folks, you are ready and set to actually take on the week. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or even emotionally justifiable outbursts, you can indeed share them with me by sending me a text or scheduling an office hours appointment for this week coming up. Or you could certainly send me an email. I would certainly, at this point now, because we're so late in the semester, I would highly suggest that you all try to schedule an office hours appointment with me now. If you want me to actually provide you with some feedback on your writing assignments, either kind of writing assignments 1 through 4, I would definitely suggest making a back-to-back appointment, because the time slots that I have available are only in 15-minute increments. Okay. So you do want to make sure that you can get at least a 30-minute session if you would like some feedback on your actual writing assignments. Okay. Um, I can generally get to about one writing assignment for every 30 minutes. So if you have like I'm just spitballing this here. Okay, so I hope that this is absolutely no one in our class. But if you have 3 writing assignments that you want me to actually provide you with some feedback on, then you're going to want to schedule at least 3 30-minute sessions. Okay, so you have to schedule 3 sessions, probably on 3 different days, and for 30 minutes for each day, right? So a back-to-back appointment. Okay, that means that you'll have to make the reservation twice, but that's okay. It's not that shouldn't be too tall of an order, especially for the return, right? Okay, folks. Well, hey, if you all are good, satisfied, and filled with information right now, then you guys can go back to your lovely domiciles. Go and download the information that's actually uploaded into your head by playing some video games. I know, right? Professor telling y'all to go play video games. What's wrong with this guy? He's crazy. Not quite. There's a method to the madness. Go play some video games just for about an hour, then come back and get back to your work. Or even better, get back to your family. All right, folks, take care. I will see you all this Thursday, 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. For our YouTube Live. All right, you all can access it. I'll actually upload the link on our week 14 updates and assignments, or excuse me, updates and announcements on tomorrow. Okay, so I'll make the YouTube rooms for us, and then I'll get the link, and then I'll post them up tomorrow for us. All right, take care, folks. I hope that you all enjoy your evening. Take care of yourselves and each other.